Welcome, everyone. So Miles, you're going to highlight me at some point. So we've got a lot of people on the screen, which is great. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being the early birds. I so appreciate that. We have a chat box. So if you have a question, I'll try to answer some of those before the end of the call. It's going to be fast paced. You know me, I like to give you more information than you know what to do with. So you always come to my calls. There's tons of information. So hopefully there'll be one or two nuggets for you. So that will be great. And then we'll get started here in about 45 seconds. So if you have any questions ahead of time, just put it in the chat box and I'm happy to help. I look fabulous. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, it's a new haircut again. I can't, at my age, the only thing I can deal with is my hair, neck up. Nothing else. Okay, good. Thanks for being here, Julia. Yeah. Okay, good. You saw Mo today in our team meeting. Yeah, Mo and I are going out to lunch on Sunday before Mega Camp, and then we sit together. So if you're going to Mega Camp, Mo and I sit together up in the front row. You know, age has its privileges, I guess. So I put the two old ladies up front. All right. Okay. Bottom of the hour, and I'm a punctual person, and you are punctual also. So, Miles, let's get this show on the road here. Let me help some people with how to net $1 million. Miles, are you there?
I'm here. Sorry about that. So welcome to today's webinar, Pathway to Net 1 Million. It will be hosted by MAPS coach, Monica Reynolds. Before I kick it over to her, I have 3 quick announcements. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. I will share the link in the chat to the MAPS YouTube channel here. That video recording will be available within 24 hours as well. Currently, everyone is on mute. If you have any questions for Monica, please type them into the chat box. She will be addressing the questions as best as she can throughout the call. Following the webinar, if you have any questions, please reach out to our MAPS coaching team at fasttrack@kw.com. That's going to be all for me. Monica, take it away.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for being on the call. And I know a lot of you, so I don't have to get through a lot of things, but let me just go to the bio real fast and give you a little bit of an update here. So I'm an executive MAPS coach, and go ahead, Stephanie, pull the bio up. The second thing I wanted to share with you is that my passion is building systems, and I love building systems. And the key thing about building systems to me is that they're duplicatable and scalable. And so one of the key things is that when I took over a business, and that's why I want to share with you, is that Chris Heller became the CEO of Keller Williams. I coached Chris Heller for 7 years, and then he convinced me to come back into real estate, run his team, and take listings. And so what I'm going to share with you today is that I may be the only team out there who had a few team members, and we netted $1 million every year. Most important thing for you guys to hear is that not only did Chris net $1 million every year, he never walked in the building. He wasn't at a team meeting. He didn't go on listings for 7 years in a row. He netted $1 million. He came to our Christmas party. That was pretty much it. He looked at the P&Ls once a month. That was pretty much it. And so I am speaking from experience. So I'm going to share some big numbers with you and how we did it. And I want you to know that the key thing for all of you to hear is that there is something in here for all of you. So let's go to the next slide. So if you have any questions after this call or need something, it's monica@kw.com. Okay. So on the next slide, Stephanie's having a little trouble moving her slides, it looks like. monica@kw.com. fasttrack@kw.com if you have any questions about anything coming up with Fast Track. And of course, there's the YouTube. And then this course was going to be put in the chat box. Okay, next slide. So we're going to get started right now. So this is the key thing. Step 1, building a performance culture. Well, what do you mean by that, Monica Reynolds? And I was thinking about this, and if you know me, and I do these webinars all the time, I always have a different, take on different things. So I create these all the time. I never use the same one twice. I've never used the same one twice. I must have hundreds and hundreds of webinars and hundreds of PowerPoints. And I thought, you know what? I know how to share with you the steps to net $1 million and never walk in that business again. Of course, it's about hiring talent, et cetera, like that. But there is a pathway to do that. And it doesn't have to have a team of 58. We had a very small team, and I'm going to share with you what that is. So what is a performance culture? Okay. So you want to be clear on the how. You got to have a GPS, and I'm going to show you ours, 5 lead generation sources. I'm going to tell you about those. And you got to be clear on the who and what that org chart looks like now and at the end. You always have the end in sight. So if you feel like you can net $1 million in the next 8 to 10 years or 5 years, whatever it happens to be, you start backwards and you go forwards. So you write out that GPS there with the org chart for there, and then 4, 3, 2, 1 to current, to what you need to do now. Okay. So you got to be clear on the when. So is it 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now? And I can honestly tell you, it took Chris Heller 20 years to net $1 million and walk away from the business every year and net $1 million without any interaction other than the fact the Christmas party, right? Or the P&L, right? So when you have a performance culture, it attracts talent, retains talent, allows innovation and change and operational efficiency. Performance culture, you have to perform. You have to be a great agent. You've got to have some disciplines and standards. You got to build a business. You got to have systems. So next slide. So not to drive you guys completely crazy. So on our next slide, here's the GPS, which you won't be able to read. So what I had Stephanie do, it's hard to read. We're going to go through each priority very quickly. So let's go to priority number 1. Okay. So our goal was to close 225 transactions by December 31st, 2016 to produce 3.2 million in income. Remember, we played big numbers in San Diego. So so priority number 1 is Aaron and Monica, you as my listing partner too, to close 158 listings, closed sold, but we had to take 180 to do that. Now our strategies are based on the closed. Where was this business coming from? So no one is going to teach you a GPS like I do. I assign people to each one of these strategies. So these strategies on priority number 1 was the listings we were going to take and how we were going to get there. So past clients, center of influence, out of area agent referrals. That was a big one. If you're going to mega camp, I've got a breakout on Tuesday. If you're going to mega camp, go with the intention to meet 200 people, take business cards, build up your agent database. That strategy of 10% of our business, 15.8 transactions for listings. Well, that was a very small portion, but I always like to play a little small so I could exceed those goals. What you're seeing here is that you will see where the business was coming from, so that if we weren't getting, an average of 4 transactions, yes, you'll get a copy of the slides. And even more importantly, I'll give you something else at the end. 4 transactions per month, then we knew our radio advertising wasn't working. If we were supposed to do at least 2 transactions from just listed, just solds, those are measurable now. So I'm a GPS person who says where the strategy is, how much business is going to be there, and who's in charge of it. So right there, Aaron and Monica. If you go to priority number 2, Peggy and Lacey were my only agents. So there's only 4 agents, myself, Aaron, Peggy, and Lacey, to do this business. So when you think about it, when you look at Peggy and Lacey, next slide there, thanks. They were to do 67 buyer sales. That was a little over 33 each. Well, a good buyer agent with a very strong systems, very big plan on how to get to 225, they should easily do that. So here's where this was going to come into play. So if you look at strategy number 2, they were to do 100 open houses, which means 50 each, which means at least 1 a week, if not 2 a weekend, resulting in 18 transactions. That's pretty light, but I'd rather do it that way so that they could do more. And 13.4 interactions from transactions from internet advertising. We have an ISA team that would call behind that. You'll see my org chart coming up. So every strategy had a number and a person assigned to it. I hope that makes sense, because when you put a GPS like this together, you then know what you're doing in your business to net $1 million. And what happens, people will throw these GPSs out there and not assign a number to each strategy. They won't assign a person. So when I was VP of Maps for 3 years, I knew when I met with Gary Keller on a GPS, I better have all my T's crossed and say how we're going to do that. So under each strategy are going to be steps. So 100 open houses, the step would be on that is to make sure that, you know, we're door knocking 25 doors around that property before the open house. That step would be calling each one of those potential, you know, people who came to look at that house that same day, not 3 days later, the same day, calling to set an appointment. All right, let's go to priority number 3. Priority number 3 was we were going to increase our past client referrals over last year by 9%, which resulted in 73 transactions. So we have an ISA team, and you'll see the org chart coming up. Call entire database 4,575 by the end of each quarter, resulting in 25 transactions. So were the ISA teams only responsible for that? No, everyone on the team was responsible for asking. The listing manager, the TC, they all asked for referrals and 5-star reviews. Call entire database with market updates, email, sorry. Next one is create and distribute 2 promotion things that we do for referrals. Host 4 client appreciation parties that we got a minimum of 6 referrals that we close from each party. Now remember, that would also have the steps under the strategies of how we're going to do that. We start 8 weeks in advance, save the date. You know, we're getting our vendors involved. We're getting each person on the team to say that they'll get 30 people there, you know, personally. So we have our strategies there. Host 2 educational seminars, something on, you know, how to, you know, with little investment, how to net $30,000 more for the sale of your home, or with $1,000 investment. We'll show them different techniques and things to use. Okay. All right. So when you see this, and someone said the sound should be good. I've been having webinar seminars all day today. All right. So that's the GPS. That's the GPS. And, you know, if you want a copy, you can email me at monica@kw.com. Now, the org chart. Let's go to the org chart. So here's where a lot of you need to start. Okay. All right. So rainmaker agent, listing agent, transaction coordinator. Only one person is under the rainmaker agent. So if it's your listing assistant, she's in charge, or he's in charge of the TC, or the TC is in charge of the listing, however it is. Okay. That is, you know, when you look at level 1 in the MRA book. Now let's go to the next one. So this is what our org chart looked like to net $1 million. Remember, Chris never walked in the building. He never made a call. So let's go to the next one, Stephanie. Okay. So when you look at the owner up there, that was Chris Heller. I was called the CEO. I was also the listing specialist with Aaron. And Stephanie on this call was our EA. Stephanie, go back to the org chart, please. That one a little fast. Okay. Then when you see underneath me was our director of operations, and he had the TC and the listing manager under him. And he also was trained to sit in a seat. If we took a lot of listings or we had a lot of pendings going on, he could sit in those seats too. We had a sales manager, Stephen Jack. And Stephen Jack is on this call, and he'll probably reach out to some of you who have some questions. And he and I still work together, which is great. And underneath Stephen Jack was 2 ISAs and 2 buyer agents, and he was in charge of those. And so one of the things that I think you guys have to hear and be very clear about is that you don't need a lot of people to net $1 million. I know people who have 1 assistant and 1 part-time buyer showing agent, and they net $1 million. Their price point's pretty high. Trust me on that. However, you have to learn what it takes in your price point, what your average sales price is. So looking at this, there's not a lot of people there. I don't have a team of 58. So I'm empowering you to think big on how to net $1 million. It's about building your org chart that makes sense, building a GPS for the future, but building your GPS for this year and next year coming up. So let's go to step 3, Stephanie. So Gary Keller said, next slide, at the last top agent mastermind, he said something. He said, the systems have to be more powerful than the people. People are interchangeable. You'll have a buyer agent who wants to be an assistant who wants to be a buyer agent. So people move around. You have a problem when the people are more powerful than the systems, which means you're hostage to one of your admin, you're hostage to a buyer agent. So the magic easily happens when you have talent and systems. So I totally was excited when Gary said, you have a problem when the people are more powerful than the systems. You have to have systems. So on the next page, very quickly, I wrote something that said, okay, what are 8 reasons to systematize? Well, first of all, it's operative excellence. Systems will improve efficiency. You'll control the customer experience, meaning you're their realtor for life. You have controlled decision-making processes. When you follow a system, it becomes quickly apparent when you are successful at following it or not, and then you need to make those changes. It's duplicatable and scalable, whether you're doing 20 transactions this year to 200 to 2,000. They're duplicatable and scalable. How you do it is the same how you do it, no matter how many transactions you're doing. You can recruit talent when you have certain playbooks and when you have, say, here's our book of business, here's how we do things, here's our GPS. When you have standards, number 6, there's no secrets to your mission, your value, your vision, your beliefs, and your perspectives. And more importantly, number 7, your culture. Your culture is the hub of the wheel. Your culture is in listings, it's in pendings, it's in customer service, it's in making outgoing phone calls, it's in everything. Manage stress. When you have a system of setting expectations with clients and agents, this is the first step to creating a stress-free transaction. Well, I don't know about you, but I had hardly any of those because people are moving. It's extremely stressful. If you haven't moved lately, you just can't imagine the stress. And, when we tell someone we sold their house, but, oh, by the way, there's 8 contingencies here, or here's what's happening next, or the lender moved the moving date, there's just a lot of stress. But when you have controlled conversations and when your assistant is trained and she or he understands how to manage expectations and how to manage, what may happen and here's what's going to happen next, then it really helps with that transaction. But most importantly, that transaction, you want that client to move forward with you as a client for life. So when you look at controlled experience, operations, standards, excellence, recruiting talent, it all comes back to systems. And when you don't have systems, you can't build your business to the next level. Okay, next slide. So, part of this class also is to tell you a little bit about the perfect real estate assistant. So I go through all of these systems on the next slide, Stephanie. And so we go through culture, hiring, onboarding, offboarding, team communications, accountability, database, lead generation, conversations, listings, open houses. Okay, just on that side. If I came to your office and I said, show me your systems on all of those, could you? Now, when you come to the perfect real estate assistant, I give you so much of this in what we call blueprints, and then you build from there. And so on the right-hand side, I'm not going to read through that, but budget, goal setting, vendors, et cetera, I give you a whole plan for there. Every vendor should be giving you a minimum of 1 referral per quarter, minimum, better monthly, but per quarter. Every vendor should support you in all your client appreciation parties. I know RESPA, I get RESPA. I know exactly what RESPA is all about. And yet I want to share with you, if you don't have these systems in place, you have to start somewhere. So when you look at this, what's the most important system for you to focus on right now? Basically, there's so many there that lead generation is a great one. You got to have business in order to do something. But closings and pendings, number 15, is a critical one. Clean that up. If you can. Okay, can you move them, Stephanie? Thank you. All right. So when you look at the closings and pending, this is where the client moves forward or not. You could have done a great job on the listings. You could have done a great job recruiting the buyer. Stephanie, can you mute them? Thank you. All right. Sorry about that, everyone. So on 15, this is where the client moves forward or not. You did a great job of negotiating an amazing contract for the buyer. You did a great job of getting an amazing price for the seller. And yet when things go sideways, this is the dessert. This is where the business moves forward or not. So when you want to look at that, I'm really having you think about what systems do you have in place? What could be helped? So let's go to step 4. So step 4 is about culture, and you have to get in alignment with the culture because you will attract the right people. So, when I said, you've got a lead generation, you got a culture where, you're looking for business all the time. I mean, that's a really good one, a performance culture. But the bottom line is, what is your culture? And so being part of Keller Williams, which is so great, you've got the Y4C 2 TESs. I mean, just start with that, win-win or no deal. What a great way to build your business. What a great way to hold a team meeting and talk about these and say, hey, give me an example of customers come first. Who can give me an example of that? Or you say weekly, okay, next week we're going to talk about communication. Give us a story on that, Bill or whoever, Jane. And so when you look at that, this is a great thing that a lot of teams, especially, if you're not in Keller Williams, because you hear this all the time, God, family, business. And yet part of that is having a community where you're building a team and you're helping them grow. My greatest, gift was to help people change their economic status, to give them a great job, to give them opportunities, to teach them things about finances and life, and obviously having a servant's heart. And so those are the things that we worked hard to instill. No, not the word try. We worked hard to instill on the team. Now, let me share with you, and I know I'm going through a lot. The slides are going to be available to you. And if you want a copy of the recording, you can always email me at monica@kw.com. But I've got some things for you, so hold on. All right, so let's go to the 5 steps, Stephanie. So here's how you make $1 million in profit, okay? You got to determine 5 lead generation systems. Don't go... Make those 5 powerful. So I'm going to use what we had: database, expireds, FSBOs, open houses, agent referrals. Now, I didn't put radio and television in there because most of you don't do that. So those would be the ones that I'd look at. Now, I want to share something with you because I've coached more people than anyone in the country as a real estate coach. I've been doing it forever. Been in real estate 44 years. Here's the thing. You always have opportunities in these markets and nobody pays attention to them. Divorce attorneys, probate, absentee owners, investors, first-time home buyers, senior transition. When you come to the perfect real estate assistant class, you get all of those packages. You get all of those systems. And I'm just sharing with you that when the market gets tough, you've got to look at, those are a constant all the time. Go on your state and look up probate. There is a lot of probate. What people don't understand is that everyone, even with a will go into probate except for 5% of the country. If you have a trust, you don't go to probate. And so most people are going to go through probate. If they inherit a property, they get a property, they want to sell it, they're going to go through probate. So the second thing is, so figure out your lead generation sources, where that business is going to come from, what the return on investment is. Next one, B. Hiring, onboarding, and offboarding. Make sure that you follow the MREA 7 levels. Do not hire a buyer agent before you hire an assistant. And don't hire 1 assistant and 5 buyer agents. You're just going to blow up your systems. You won't have any systems. You'll just have business. A KPA and DISC are critical to the hiring process, following career visioning, clarity on the job description, 30, 60, 90. When you join the perfect real estate assistant class, you get every job description in every 30, 60, 90 for an ISA, an assistant, a buyer agent, the rainmaker. Everybody gets one. The standards, we go through all of that too in the program, but you have to set certain standards for each one of those jobs so that they're not like, oh, how did that happen? So let's go to the next slide. So the next slide is going to be about planning. And you're a business. When you hire you were a realtor. When you hire your first assistant, you're now a business. And so a lot of the class, we have about 25-30% of the agents who do not have an assistant, but they want the systems. They want to know where they're going, which is great. So we invite anyone. Ferocious planning. You have to have a yearly business plan. You've got to have a GPS, and you will get in the program a business plan for an assistant is different than a buyer agent. A business plan for a listing agent is different than an ISA. So I have all those business plans built. Make sure that you have a GPS, and each member on your team has a GPS. So Peggy and Lacey, my buyer agents, each had their own GPS. We had a team GPS, and then they had their GPS on how they were going to bring in 33 closed transactions for buyers. We had a 411 each team member have, and I go through the strategies on a 411, life by design. Where are they going? What does their future look like? Pour into your team as you build it. They will stay with you forever. Tracking numbers, P&Ls, 30, 40, 30, 30, 30, 40, meaning 30 cost of business, cost of sale, and 40% profit. And when your team is not so large, your profit can be higher. We understand that. And so as your team grows, but then again, as your team grows at 40%, your dollar volume is bigger too. Okay. All right. So skills and education, commit to learning every single day and read one business book every month. And that includes your entire team. I have a Millionaire Real Estate Operations 2-day boot camp. You can email me if you want more information on that. The perfect real estate assistant with maps. And then of course, getting a maps coach. That would be great for you too. Email me if you have any questions on that. So watch your money. Okay, so how do you net $1 million? You've got to understand your money. So every single Friday, I call it Visit My Money at 1:00. And I've done this for years because I was in a partnership where I didn't watch my money and I absolutely got nailed. And that person turned out to be unethical and a thief, basically. So no one watches my money like I do. So every Friday, 1:00, watch the money that's coming in, your pendings. If you have a SEP account, your IRA, stocks, your investments, you look at your money every single Friday, right? You want to pay fairly for an assistant, and you want to pay fairly to the buyer agents. You don't want to overpay. You're the risk taker. Your name's on the door. And what's fair compensation in Mississippi is not fair compensation in Beverly Hills, California. So you gotta know what you're dealing with there, right? I never changed the base pay. I changed the bonuses. So your showing partner got 10 to 15% if they just showed the property and we wrote the offers. The other thing is that I paid most assistants, all of them, I should say, not most, all, a bonus on every closed transaction. So sometimes they start out $25, $50. There was a cap on that. Remember, the more business we do, the more money they make. And so it never was about their salary. The salary always changed same, because when you think about it, if you're going to net $1 million, you need to know what your costs are that you can absolutely control. The more closings I had, $50 out of every closing, great, we all make money. But my hard costs were going to stay the same. Now I took 10% off of every check off the buyer agents, however, off of every check that we got as a brokerage commission check that went into a marketing fund. And in that marketing fund, they could see where we were spending money on, of course, radio and television, Just Listed, Just Sold cards, putting on seminars rather, that, some of the affiliates were not able to support. Some of the things we had to do extra. Okay. You should take a fair salary. So Chris Heller took a fair salary, and then the profits after that got him over $1 million every year. There's no profit share for people on your team until they vetted for 3 to 5 years. And the percentage should not exceed 3%. So when you think about, okay, so I've seen people make mistakes that they'll take a reasonable salary and then they'll divide up the profit share with the entire team. They're not the risk takers. And it doesn't, you're not doing any favors by doing that. Can you pay some extra bonuses here and there if you feel like it? Sure, but be careful. Be a profit-driven business, okay? Do not share profit share on a monthly basis, because one month you have a big one and then the next month it's not so great. No one kicks in when you have to go dive into your savings account. You know, follow the ISA model, which is 2,000 a month plus 10% of what they find and it closes. An ROI on anything you're spending money should be 4 times plus, including your assistant. So remember, when you're hearing this,
I'm sorry. No, you good. It was on me.
Stephanie, can you mute them? Thanks. So when you hear from me today, the key thing is that every single person on this call can net $1 million. Let's go to the next slide, Stephanie. Never more than 50% to a buyer agent, Patricia. If you, and thanks for bringing that up, I missed that one. If you give more than 50% to a buyer agent and your costs are 30%, you're going to be working for them at some point. When people pay 70% to a buyer agent and you've got 30-40% of cost, you're in trouble. So never more than 50%. And that's how you net $1 million. You've got to be profitable and you've got to build a great community. You've got to build a great environment where people can reach their goals. Okay. How do you calculate? Well, if you spent $4,000 on something, you should bring in at least $16,000 against that. So it's 4 times the rate return on investment. Okay. So the perfect real estate assistant is September 13th. Now hold on. If you want a copy of the GPS, which is this, or you want a copy of the call, or you want, if you have any questions, you can email me at monica@kw.com. If you want a copy of how to hire and train booklet, email me at monica@kw.com. So how to hire and train booklet I can give to you. Questions, email me. And a recording, email me. And if you want a copy of the GPS, email me at monica@kw.com. So if you sign up today, and I do fill up, it starts in September. So good to get it on the books and say, okay, I'm making that commitment. I'm going to put this in action. I give you a 450-page office policy and procedures manual. And so everything is there. It's a blueprint. It's duplicatable. It's great for you and your assistant. Now, agents, here's the key thing that makes this different. Every single call, the first of the month, the first call of the month is for agents only. I teach you how to be a great boss, a great leader, how to retain talent, how to communicate at a higher level. Remember, we're salespeople. Now we're running a business. We want to net $1 million, right? So I want you to think about this is also for you. The second and third call each month, and they're an hour long, they're live. They get me live, I answer questions, I go through everything. Every single week is 30 to 50 to 60 pages of a handout that have to be printed out. You're going to build your policy and procedures manual. The class is on Wednesday at 12:30 Central. So figure it out from there. There's 18 calls. And again, they're live calls and you can reach out to me anytime. And then I do a Q&A for 10 minutes at the end of every call. I guarantee you that I've been doing this a long time. And if you know that you need systems and you know that you have a goal to net $1 million, and how are you going to build that? You've got to build the systems and you've got to have the right talent to implement the system. So remember, talent can come and go. And, you know, I've had assistants that move away and their spouse got transferred or they get pregnant, decide to stay home. I mean, it's like, there's all these kind of things that happen. You go, oh my God, now what do I do? So once you have the systems in place, that's the critical thing. So let me answer a few of these questions. So it's monica@kw.com if you want any of those things. Stephanie, did you see any questions here? Oh, when is the next MREO boot camp? If you want any information on the boot camp, you can email me too. It's October 16th and 17th. That is correct. And I've got Mo Anderson, Linda McKissick, great lineup. Okay, so anything else, Stephanie, do you see?
I don't see any questions you have not already answered.
Okay, good. All right. I am an AI assistant. Oh my gosh. Okay, good. All right, I have no idea how that works, but come to the class. Okay, all right, so here's my closing thought, because I appreciate your time. When you look at the systems and you go back, and all these slides will be available. If you want anything, just monica@kw.com. When you can control your operative excellence, meaning you have systems in place that support the client for a great customer experience, and then you're helping your assistant with the systems understand how to control the decision-making process is then controlled, and it's duplicatable and scalable. You're building standards, you're building a performance culture, and then you can manage stress when you have the systems. And so when Gary Keller said to his top 100 groups, the systems have to be more powerful than the people. You have a problem when the people are more powerful than the system. So I can tell you that there's no genius to netting $1 million. The genius is planning, putting systems together, and understanding your business and where your niches are. Where do you get the most business? What are the 5 sources of business? And so I have a whole lead generation that I go through, from expireds to fizz. And as I told you, the key thing that a lot of people are missing right now is when you look at some of the easier business, 1 out of 2 marriages divorce, probate, absentee owners, investors, first-time home buyers, senior transition. Do you know that a bunch of coaches and I got together, and 70 to 80%, so put in the chat box, are most of your listings people over 60 years old? Yes or no? Just for fun in the chat box. Yes or no? Most of your listings over 60 years old. We figured out that 80%, 75, 85% of the listings are people over 60. They have the money. They're the biggest people out there as far as they've got the money. They're the biggest community right now. And so it's really critical that you guys, so no, okay, good. Yes. Okay. There's a few yeses coming on. So yes or no, most of your listings over 60. No. Okay. All right. Well, then you're missing the market. You need to have a senior transition package. You need to be able to tell the people in your database, if you're thinking of moving, and you're in the senior, going to be a senior transition, or you have parents that are senior transitioning, I can help you. So don't miss those opportunities. They're the biggest group of people, and they have the most money, and they're getting older every day. So remember, between divorce attorneys, probate, absentee, first-time home buyer, senior transition, I have all the packages. I have all the systems for you. So sign up, you get me, and it's an agent call once a month. What a great way to start the month to put your systems together. And again, if you need anything, just email me at Monica, MONICA @KW.com. I think I covered it. Stephanie, anything else?
I think you're good, Monica.
And Debbie Burke says, yes, tons over 60. I'm telling you right now in my schedule, everybody has at least 80% or more over 60 are the listings. If you're not looking at that group right now, you learn that. And again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You all can net $1 million. It's a process, and there's a way to do it. So go back and listen to this, think about your business, and put that GPS together. It's critical that on that GPS, you're assigning people and numbers. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week, and thanks for being on this call. So appreciate you. Hey, if you're at Mega Camp, I've got a program, and come to that. I'll see you in room 18, A, B, C, and D. See you at Mega Camp. Thanks, everybody. Have a great one. Bye-bye. Thanks, Steph.
Bye, everybody.